Let's talk about substitute teaching, huh? We've never talked about this? Have we? I mean, we've sprinkled experiential things that have happened.
Yes. Well, I just thought this morning I woke up and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like a good laugh.
Yes.
So what would be a topic that would make
Lisa laugh?
Good belly laughs, because it's been pretty tough last 5 weeks. Just around. So I thought, you know what? I was just thinking about some of the substitutes that I've had through the years, or people have had, or those experiences and stuff. And I thought, that would be a fun one, is to talk about substitutes.
So let's do our podcast on substitute teachers, because we both need to laugh.
We've had some crazy stories of substitutes through the years, so I thought that'd be fun to share it. So tell me, what are the criterias or qualifications for a sub, since you have been one?
Yes. Okay. The number one criteria is to be alive.
That helps.
Alive and able to breathe on your own. You also have to possibly have transportation to get you to the location of the substitute.
Right, even if it's an Uber or whatever, but you have to be able to get there.
And I believe you need a high school diploma, and I'm sure a GED is fine.
Probably.
You also need to have immunizations. Now, if that's a trigger for you, please turn off the podcast. And go live in a hole. And you have to, so TB, you can't have TB. And you also have to pass a background check that you're not a gross person. And you know what I mean?
And then
that's
I think you have to just get a license, like $100 license. Right?
I do not think so. No.
I thought you had to get a sub license.
No.
Really?
No. Just alive. And that's about it. You have 25 sub stories. They're like sob stories.
I don't know, probably 15, but that's a lot. Crazy subs of the past.
Well, can I just...
Some really, really good ones. You want to back and forth?
Let's go back and forth. I don't have as many as you, but you start.
First, I want to tell this one.
Okay,
so
you go.
One of my children said that they had a sub in a high school class, but he had big, like the grommet ear piercing kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the grommet wasn't in there. So he was showing the kids all the things that he could stick through his ears. And so they did pencils, and then kids were bringing up things to see if he could stick it through his grommet. I'm like, that's how you spent a high school class. It might have even been an AP class of just challenging your substitute to stick things through his ear.
There's been Will It Float? Does it conduct electricity? I've done tests like that. Yes. Will it go through the ear? Hot dog? Hot dog? No. This water bottle? No.
Can you get the pencil sharpener through your...
No. String cheese? Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kids going out and getting their lunches.
Maybe they could learn about, I don't know, some physics concepts. I don't know which ones. Write to us in the comments.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good one. Okay.
That was crazy.
Well, this one just happened last school year. I heard this from my son who teaches high school. A substitute at his high school came one day wearing a neck brace, and he said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Well, I've been doing needlepoint while I'm subbing because I have nothing to do, and I've been looking down so long that I had to go to urgent care and get this because I hurt my neck needlepointing so long."
Do you remember when we had, I think it was a sub, and she came with this big thing, almost like a buff over her whole head and neck, and she said she couldn't go out for recess duty because she was allergic to air? Do you remember that?
I thought it was the sun, but that sounds about right. I don't know.
It was something.
I'm allergic to the sun. I should have tried that one because I hated duty, Oh, that's a good one. Okay. All right. Give me another one.
Okay. Here's one. I had a coworker who needed a substitute and left on the notes that person should ask me any questions that this person had. The unfortunate thing is he was a close talker with some kind of halitosis.
Oh, no. Oh.
And so all day long, I'm like, And all day long he kept me get really like nose to nose and asked me questions about like, can you show me how to do this math problem? Like, oh my God, it was the worst day in the world. So close talker with bad breath, not a good sub.
Do you remember how to get rid of the halitosis? You and I and someone else made a fake commercial for your class using the tongue raker. Use the tongue raker. A lot of times halitosis. Let's take an ad break now, Lisa. Halitosis is caused by debris on the tongue. So you have to scrape the tongue with the tongue raker. So ask your dentist for a tongue raker.
I have a tongue raker.
I do too. We have the same dentist. So bless his pea-picking heart. We do not have halitosis because we scrape our tongues. Well, I have just a kind of quick one, and I probably told this during our student-teacher episode, but Kenny, the substitute, literally put his feet up on the desk and remember when newspapers were large? Remember those? That you could sleep? Yes. And he would either fall asleep with the newspaper or kind of a smutty, steamy novel, and I had to teach everything. And he got paid. I'm sure he's making like $7 an hour, but he still got paid while I was teaching. And he wouldn't even go outside. He was a terrible sub. Kenny.
Why did you have a sub when you were teaching?
Because my cooperating teacher had accrued all of her. She was gone for weeks, though, because it was her last year teaching, and she decided to hit the slots at Vegas. I'm like, this makes sense.
I had a sub one time and the kids go, it was interesting. He was an older guy and he talked for like a good hour, they said, of the benefits of long-term life insurance.
Was it an economics class or something?
No, I was just didn't want to teach. And he started talking about long-term life insurance to fifth graders, all about being ready and stuff. And they were like, oh my, the funny thing is he left flyers for me too. So I don't know if
you mean so that he could sub again or how to get life insurance?
I don't know if he was selling it. They were like, do not ever have him again.
But do you remember, you know how people out there like, you've got to teach children things like how to balance a checkbook. And the kids are like, what's a check? And they've got to learn cursive handwriting. I'm like, yeah, we know. But maybe he was like, they need to know about life insurance. And so maybe he thought he was.
You want to start planning for your future.
Right. Especially when you're 16. Oh, 10. Oh, that's right. This is the fifth grade. Oh.
Oh, do you remember the substitute that we had to tattle on because they were smoking in the bathroom?
Yes. It's like,
the principal had to go in.
There hasn't been a cigarette ever smoked here, and we can smell you.
And the person goes, I didn't realize that you couldn't do that.
Well, you mean you can't say the F-bomb over and over? I didn't know. Yeah.
Or the one that took the kids to a library and was pumping.
Oh, yeah, just right in front of them. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I will tell a story. My first 2 years of my teaching career, I was subbing in this area, and that's where Schwiebert bucks were born, but I called them warm fuzzies. And I'm telling you, Lisa, the kids would do anything for a warm fuzzy. All it was, I would go to scrap boxes throughout America, and I would take different colored construction paper that people were just whipping and throwing away. And I would cut these little fuzzy puffballs with legs, and I drew a little face on it. At the end of the day, I'd just say, Mrs. Schwiebert says, thank you. You're a warm fuzzy. If the whole class was great, I'm like, you know what? This is a great class. Thank you. Here's a warm fuzzy. You gave me a warm fuzzy. And then I had a book called The Warm Fuzzies, and I'd read it to them. And I'll tell you what, when you're teaching little kids anyway, magic. And if that doesn't work, just have some Smarties in your pocket and just say, you're a Smartie and you're a Smartie. You suck. And then just not give them any candy. You don't get no candy. Okay.
Did you ever have a substitute reorganize your desk, like completely? I had one that told the kids that I was unorganized and my desk was a shambles, and so they reorganized.
Stop talking about me, Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was not. I would never do. Although I have been known to dig in drawers looking for a Snickers, but.
Have you ever had anything missing?
No, but I do know that when I took maternity leave, the substitute broke my stapler because they threw it at a cute little first grader. They threw a stapler and broke it. So that was broken.
I've had things broken. I had one that didn't know how to operate my electric sharpener and put it in backwards, the one on my desk.
What?
And like Yeah, and totally busted it. I don't know.
No, learning, that's one thing I will say as a sub, and maybe that's one of the reasons I don't want to do it anymore. Keeping up with the technology, I'm still there.
Yeah.
I still can do it. And
But some of it's common sense. Like we had those stream tables. They're like these big bins.
Yeah.
They have sand in them. We would do lots of experiments over like 2 weeks with erosion. And I had it where very detailed. And the kids knew what to do. But the sub's like, oh yeah, just throw away the sand. They'll just get new.
Stop talking about me. No.
Sand for that year, you know.
No, I know.
And so I came back and I'm like, what happened? They're like, they were insistent we had to dump it out. It was dirty.
Dirty sand.
Well, in their defense, it was one where you put a couple drops of
soap.
Food coloring.
Oh, food coloring.
And then you watch how it really does do like that deposition or whatever. But they're like, oh, it's dirty, just throw it out. And they're like, no, we don't do that. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to do it because it's dirty now. And I get back and I'm like, well, I guess that unit's done.
I'll sprinkle in some of the sub-plan things. You said you have a lot more sub-stories.
Oh,
but
yeah. Well, there's the no-note sub where you have no idea what happened.
And I used to do that to you because you would leave your notes. Yeah.
I would leave my sub-plans on different things for you. Like sticky notes, napkins.
I think that was one Kleenex.
Did I leave one on a maxi pad one time?
No, that was the door decoration. No, I think you did some Sharpie on a Kleenex. Walking in, though, as a sub, for those 2 years, those of you who are teachers and you've never subbed, I think subbing should be the way all principals, at least, start their careers. You need to understand empathy and compassion. And I would leave detailed responses to what we did. I would list who was absent, just little things like that. The very first day of school, I get a call and the principal goes, yeah, we're ready for you. Can you come in right now? And I had to sub on the first day.
I was going to say, have you ever been absent on the first day of school? I have never been absent on the first day of school.
But I subbed the first 3 days. I had to hand out books. I had to help them with name tags. I had no clue what I was doing, but I still did it. And I still did not get hired in that district because once they get glum onto a good sub, which I feel confident that I was, it's terrible.
Don't hire a good sub. And a lot of schools are just having in-house subs. But yeah, you tend to try to make it a little bit easier. But it's really awesome when you are gone on a day where you're going to give the sub the trifecta, like a bus duty, a recess duty, and a lunchroom duty.
And really bad plans and no prep. Because we did have days where there was no music, art, gym, or library. Those days, you know how I hide under the desk? That's why you hide under the desk. So maybe you could just take a little break.
So we both know this substitute, and this is truth.
Truth.
We only speak the truth on this podcast.
Pretty much.
We had this woman who would sub, but this person would spend most of the day doing a nose flute, like playing this nose flute for him. Yeah. And what was really gross is she did that one day with my students and then let the kids try it.
Yep.
Actors in her nose. And it's this thing that goes up the nose and then you blow out through your nose and it makes...
She's the one who wore a hat that looked like a fish, right?
Yes, and she never wore a bra, which was always very inappropriate.
Right. Some people notice those things. I personally don't, but...
She was subbing in our building and she always rode her bike, no matter what. It was like...
3 feet of snow, Lisa.
But she came and she was kind of flighty and she went on her bike to lunch and never came back. And when they finally found her, she goes, oh, I forgot to come back.
I'm pretty sure it was some really delightful psychedelics that she was on. Because I noticed she was unable to shave her legs, which, hey... If you don't want to wear deodorant, that's your business. But once you start making it my business, I can smell you. I can see your hairy legs, whatevs. But you know what I mean? It's not your right to smoke in front of me because I'm breathing the air. So she was on some mushrooms or
something.
I'll have what she's having.
I like when people are like, oh, hell no. No, they run down to the secretary and said, block this girl forever. She is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I had one person that decided that my schedule didn't work for him. And so he And our schedule's very set. So he decided to change the schedule and went around and tried to get people to switch and things to change the schedule to meet his needs.
I noticed you said he. Interesting. I'm just saying it out there. I'm just leaving it. I have this one. I had to substitute teach during state testing, and I wasn't allowed to be in the room. I'm like, you're going to give me some cash to go down into the teacher's lounge and eat the popcorn? Okay. That was funny. That was a funny one.
Yeah. And then you have that substitute that's always the party, like the fun aunt one. Woo! And then the kid's like, when is she going to come back?
Yeah.
I'm talking about you.
I know. Auntie Sue is here. You can learn while you laugh.
Are the ones that just have recess. They're like, oh, we're just going to go out and play.
I also love the new sub plans they have, lesson planner. Everything's color coded, and you could decide like English is going to be green and math is going to be purple. Really? It's pretty precise. I started even using that my last maybe 4 or 5 years of teaching, and then you can forward this to the substitute. It's pretty slick. That was nice.
Well, the problem with subs for me was I'd had very detailed lesson plans till about Halloween.
Yeah. It's coming up soon.
Then, they would get off because you'd make them for the week, kind of a general one. And then you'd have those teachable moments or things come up and then it's off. So a lot of times if I had to be gone, I'd be sick, coughing. I'd go in at 4 a.m.
Oh, absolutely.
Set up my lesson plans. It's like, this is not worth being sick.
Oh, yes. I remember being on a gurney in the emergency room because I had that first kidney stone. And I'm like, I need a notebook and a pen. Because as soon as the drugs, it wasn't mushrooms, but it was some delightful drugs that went through my system. I felt fine. It was fine. I don't even know if the lesson plans made sense, but I wrote pages. I needed to have a sub for at least 3 days. So I was just writing down, I don't even know.
I have no idea what I wrote down, but there was writing
there
on
were
the paper.
Lesson plans and they can't fire me.
People survive.
Yeah.
That's the thing when you have coworkers, it's nice because they can always punt for you.
Right there, I think you just triggered for me, what is the most important attribute for a sub? Can the children survive? Will they live?
Right. Exactly.
That's it.
But please don't have gingivitis.
No. Or COVID or whatever.
The thing is, if you know that you do not know how to, for say, do long division, you don't sign up for a 5th grade class when you know that there's going to be long division. I think people are I can just sit around and do nothing. And that's not true. Like, we have so many days. We got to cram it all in those days. And so to sign up just for anything, knowing that you have no background knowledge, don't substitute.
Let's segue.
If you really don't like kids? Don't be a substitute.
Kids, kids can sense that out. They can get that off of you
and
in
they'll
a
tattle
second.
on you too. They will tattle on you. They'll be like, no.
Well, let's go on. Let's go on to the tricks. The tricks that we used to do as kids to subs, which is terrible. Terrible. Don't do it. Just don't do what we say. Don't do what we do. Don't do anything.
Yeah, we used to always tell the sub, like, change our names.
Yes, changing names, classic. How about
change names and desks?
Oh, yes. And how about the one we'd either whisper it or the note would go around, 9 o'clock, drop your pencil, 9 o'clock, drop your book, 9 o'clock, sneeze.
Everybody
sneeze.
has to go to the bathroom at 10:50.
I really do. Yeah, that was pretty.
Or tell them the rules are different. Like, our teacher lets us go outside by ourselves and read on the lawn.
We go to lunch outside. We go to lunch on our own. Oh, man.
We get to eat lunch in the classroom.
Oh, that's a good one.
Every day.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good one. Now, this is one I read about, but there was a child who convinced the substitute that his friend was blind. That's terrible.
Creative.
No, she really is blind because, that's hard to tell. When technology came a thing, the kids would say, no, we get to go on YouTube or whatever. Yes, and it wasn't as blocked. When we first started getting these, it was just jungle warfare. We didn't know anything. But the one thing that kids didn't know about was the history button. You know how you can check somebody's Google history? You can just, I would sit down and I'd say, Damon, have a seat, Damon.
It's always a Damon.
Always a Damon. And I'd say, Damon, this button, I didn't want to show them what I did because as soon as you show them the history button, they learn how to clean it. So I'd say, here's what you did. But I would say, so here it's big booby dancers. You were watching this. You watched this. I have proof that you watch it. Even when they're faced with the truth. Yeah.
When we were doing typing and stuff, I said, every button you push is recorded downtown. So even if you type something and erase it to be funny, they have record of it and it sends up a flag. You can just see their mouths drop like, oh boy.
Every email, every text that you and I have ever sent in the history of phones is still there.
It's out there.
You can trace stuff
absolutely.
easily. Well, do you have any more sub stories?
No. We talked a little bit about crazy subs of the past.
Yes.
Writing sub plans.
And the tricks.
And kids' tricks. What do you think about subs in the future? Do you think we'll have any? Will we have tools?
Well, I know AI is here to stay, and I've embraced that technology. I was at a pizza restaurant in Colorado, and a robot brought our pizza, and it had a person's face in the screen, and it was just, hello, here's your pizza kind of thing. Yes. And I think with AI and like needing a tutor or having this teacher, whether it's a physical one or just on a screen, I think it's going to be really possible to have, all right, students, it's now time for you to do this, and then you could type in the lesson, and they'll say it. I'm thinking they could take a hologram of you or me or the teacher and then just type in what the lessons are, and the teacher will be able to be standing there holographically.
Right, but you need to have very disciplined children.
Right. I don't know how that's going to work.
Because you have to put in every possible questions. I mean, that would knock questions out. It would knock out the discourse that you need in a classroom.
But there is some discourse possible that an AI can reply to. Because I asked the AI about teacher salaries, substitute. I'll get to that in a second. But there could be just a mild electric shock
on their seat.
In their seat for misbehavior.
I think that would be so sad because teaching is a science and
an art.
Continually really think and change and modify and to meet all their needs, and to just go to this canned teaching or substitute would be very sad. Where's that human connection? Thinking about fifth graders, every morning they all gave me a hug on the way in. At the end of the day, they gave me a hug on the way out. They would constantly come up and talk to me and have to touch my arm or my back. They need that connection. That would be a very sad thing.
Yeah.
I do know that during COVID, there was one day that I had to stay home because I was sick. I didn't have COVID, but I was sick, and they're like, Dot, just stay home. So I taught from my kitchen table, and there was an assistant that just sat in there, and I taught the kids, and they were there to hand out papers and do that. It was really hard. I didn't like it at all.
A lot of the lessons, these canned things on Canvas or whatever they call it, when I was subbing, I just press a button, and this other woman is teaching a social studies lesson, and then the kids are following along and doing it. And I'm just standing there clicking buttons. And it was really odd. So I'm hoping teaching strays away from that and gets a little bit back to the hands-on. But I did use AI technology. And I asked my friend, I call him Derek. Derek in ChatGPT. I just said, what is the reason substitutes and teachers are leaving in droves? And this was interesting. The average hourly wage in our state, which is Wisconsin, is $16 an hour for general laborers. And substitutes in Wisconsin make $19.48 an hour, which to me is like, wow, that's a lot. But then listen to this. Living wage in Wisconsin is $20. And that's not being able to afford vacations, going out to eat, or putting something in savings. That's just rent, food.
Right.
And it's just survival. And the minimum wage in Wisconsin is still $7.25. And tipped minimum wage is, ready for this one, $2.33 an hour. $2.33.
It's ridiculous.
The irony there is poverty wage in Wisconsin is $7.24 an hour. But hey, $7.25 is minimum wage, so no poverty here.
Oh, there you go. That extra penny really makes a difference. It really helps you with that childcare or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is you need. So my theory, if you're following my thread, is that if you're subbing and you have all these decisions to make and all this junk piled on you.
What you're saying is, why would you sub?
Yeah, this is a fun job. I would love this job. Giving out the free samples at Costco. It's a third party. It's a different company hires these people, and it's 2 to 4 hours a day, and different days. It's so flexible, and they make almost $16 an hour. And think about the joy. You're walking up and you're like, oh, what? And you try to act cool, like, oh, I don't really want to eat this. What is it? And then they hand you some pizza.
Sure.
Okay, I'll try it. And a maid is the same at like a motel. $15 an hour. If you work for a temp agency in Wisconsin, $18 an hour, and McDonald's, of course, $13 an hour. And don't tell me that those minimum jobs are paying too much, because this is the way the world is now. And so, yeah, I would rather give out slices of pizza at Costco than,
Which is so sad. It's totally ridiculous that, education is the core of success
of our existence. Yeah.
And to minimize that and diminish it down to lower than a wage that you would get at
a temp
Burger King
or
or
a temp agency,
if you're a substitute or whatever. But even with teachers, you can get out of school in same amount of schooling.
Yeah.
And you could go get a business degree. And my son got out and, making 60-some thousand just as a brand new job kind of thing. And new teachers who have to have continuing education or even a lot more to make 40.
Yeah.
And that's at a good district starting out.
And the mantra I hear over and over from people is, well, you made your choice. It's like, I didn't choose to live near the poverty line with a one-income family, with me being the breadwinner for a family of four. Because remember, the stats I was quoting you, that was for a single person.
Mm-hmm.
If you have
a
single person. I just think that the amount of disrespect just placed on your shoulders and just the amount of, vitriol. It's
and the complexity of the job. And it's teaching is such an important job.
It is.
And we need good teachers out there and good subs.
That's right.
We don't want subs that stick random things to their ears to entertain children.
I think the hot dog, I've changed my mind, Lisa. I think the hot dog would go through.
It might, if it was a firm one.
Well, maybe with the skin on wiener. I don't think the Oscar Mayer would go.
So my last final question, why don't you sub?
Why don't I sub? I think it's a combo of all the things we've just talked about. And I've offered my services that are old school to volunteer. I still miss children. I miss interacting, but I don't want the responsibility and I don't want the stress. As we age, stress wreaks havoc on the body more than it used to. I can make a list, even standing that long on the cement, as my friend Shelley used to say. Schools are built on cement, and it's painful.
Well, hence my knees.
Yes.
I did it to myself with bad knees was because of sports throughout my whole life. But the other thing is kneeling. I would always kneel on that hard floor. I'd go up to a student, I'd kneel on my one knee, helping them, and just standing on those hard floors all day long.
You sacrificed your body, Lisa.
I did.
Yes.
Dang it, I'm wonderful.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, there's reasons not to sub. I just want to do something different. And right now I'm just enjoying hanging out with family and traveling enjoying some of those years before my Netflix years.
Yes, we have the Netflix years. But you also want to be able to be spontaneous. Hey, Lisa, this is a great episode. I do want to tell you, I listened to podcasts about podcasting. And the number one way to get the podcast out there is those of you listening now, just send it to somebody and say, you need to listen to this, just by word of mouth, because we are delightful. And we're here for teachers. We're not here to complain the whole time. And we also aren't here to teach you nothing. We don't want to teach you anything.
We've done that. We did that for 35 years.
Yeah. Just share this episode with somebody and we'll know if you do. Because if you don't, we'll know. And by the way, we have some pretty cool people that are following us now. Yes. Nice. From cities with double O's. Chattanooga, Tennessee, Altoona, Wisconsin, and somewhere in Singapore. And they follow us every episode. So they're either fake or whatever.
You know what? We're going to give everybody homework. Okay? We're going to give everybody homework.
Okay.
Share to at least one person. Please like it.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, please write a review. We'd love to hear from you.
Lily, I just want to say to Lily right now. Lily wrote a review on our
We
Apple.
love you.
Lily, you're kind of in our top 10 easy of our all-time students. No lie. We miss you and thank you. But now share it to a teacher who you know who's stressed, okay? And they don't have to be old like us. They might be.
We're not old.
No, they might be youngish. I feel we're oldish. No?
We're in our prime. That's why we decided to enjoy life. Thank you for this. This is a lot of fun.
Yes.
And if you're subbing, God bless you. But don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Don't rearrange desks and sit and say you're not going to do something. But if you are a good sub,
Stay with it.
Stay with it. All right. We need you.
Come join us next time. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We didn't know what we didn't know. We'll see you next time.